Thanks, Ellen, for the introduction. Yes, I am a reference librarian at the University of South Australia in our health library. So yesterday morning before the conference, I was delivering a workshop to academics on one of the anatomy databases in the library collections. So very, very different to today's content. But art librarianship is close to my heart as I have a background in art history and started off some many years ago now at the Research Library in the National Gallery in Canberra. So thank you, Alan, Ruth and Romany and the ALIS ANZ organisers for inviting me to present today. It's a real pleasure to be here. Before I begin, I would also like to acknowledge the Kaurna people as the traditional owners and custodians of these lands, the Adelaide Plains, where I am. Unceded lands, I should add, and I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. So last year I completed the Master of Information Management, and this presentation is based on material from my Master's research project, assessing digitisation in university art museum collections. So my chosen cohort, university art museums, UAMs, and members of the University Art Museums Australia, which is the national peak body representing art museums and galleries responsible for university-owned art collections. So University Art Museums Australia has a cultural mission in the university sector. So there are 21 member art museums as a part of UAMA out of approximately 40 universities nationwide. The University Art Museum activities include programming and exhibitions, artist in residencies, commissioning artworks. So this study really in particular addresses information management in the broader GLAM sector rather than specifically the library world. So besides the exhibitions and so on, I just mentioned university art museums are, of course, custodians of significant art collections. But how visible are these online? So I developed a set of research questions. How much is digitised and accessible online? How do university art museums harness the digital environment to display their collections and increase their discoverability? What strategies do UAMs employ? And as cultural sites within the university, how do they increase the educative, creative and interpretive potential for such collections? And finally, what are the challenges encountered? So as well as literature review, a mixed method approach was adopted for the research project, which involved descriptive research, recording the existing profile and features of digitised content on the cohort website pages. Also an online survey that was circulated to university art museum curators and managers, capturing data that was unavailable on publicly accessible websites. There were multiple choice questions and comments to capture qualitative data in the survey. And I received 14 surveys were returned from respondents, but only 10 of them were completed surveys from the 21. So that's still almost 50% success rate. And finally, a quantitative analysis of content on the websites using an open source application, Voyant Tools, provided an additional data set. Analysis of language in text-based documents, and in this case it was web pages that were uploaded into the tool, such as which then allowed me to build word clouds, frequency of words in context, etc. So sort of three arms, if you like, to the research. Okay, and of course, as anyone who's familiar with research involving human participants, ethics approval is required. This involved a lot of documentation, consent forms and participant information sheets, reference lists, etc., etc. Was quite an onerous aspect to the research project. But of course, it is essential to ensure that there is a proper ethics protocol. And so on to the findings. An emphasis was certainly found on audience engagement through exhibitions and public programming, rather than through digitisation projects. Only 1/3 of university art museums have comprehensive and searchable online collections, and 2/3 offer partially digitised collections online. So it's fairly broad spectrum, really, when it comes to the extent of digitisation. There is very little available data on digitisation projects and monitoring engagement with the digitised collections. UAMs look to value add to their online collections by deploying contextual or interpretive information, expanding metadata to improve search capability, and integrating object-based learning as a model for increasing educational value of the collection. Furthermore, thematic structuring is really at the interface of online collections, and this was certainly adopted to enhance discoverability. And finally, staffing and financial considerations are the most significant challenges encountered. So here we can see in the pie chart, which visualizes the distribution of these three variables, the extent of online digitisation. So we have at 29% the little or very or no digitisation at all. And here at 38% was partial digitisation, and then roughly, well, exactly 1/3 then of the university art museums actually offer what I describe as comprehensive digitisation. So not every single object is digitised, but a very significant number of objects. And of course, as we know, the collection development means there's constantly works coming in. So it would be hard to have them all digitised and up to date. Also to note that very little data in the sector is available on monitoring online traffic. There was nothing in this in the latest UAMA report, which covers 2017-2019. And there, I have also on the screen a quote from one survey respondent. We do not monitor visitor numbers to our online collection. So this slide shows a table with the extent of digitisation per university art museum, and we can see then that not all universities have made publicly available a number of artworks in their permanent collections. The next column shows us that all of the UAMs do offer some sort of programming and exhibitions. We then have collection description, again, which we can see almost all of the university art museums have on their website. And then the really sort of interesting parts here, so I suppose these first few universities, here we have very little or no digitisation. And then sort of from number 7 down here, these university art museums have partially digitised their permanent collection. And then in the next column, comprehensive collection digitisation, and that's these UAMs here. Flinders University, so that's FUMA, the Flinders University Museum of Art. However, it doesn't provide or offer public access to the digitised collection. As you can see, many of these universities are the older sandstone universities. However, there are exceptions such as RMIT, Griffiths and Flinders too. In terms of digital access, 40% of the respondents in the survey chose making the collection more accessible to students, staff and/or researchers as their priority. So I thought that was really telling. The survey also revealed how a significant number of UAMs have no digital access plan in place. In fact, again, 40% of the respondents have no formal implementation plan. It appears to be a little bit more ad hoc, I suppose. My master's research project included a detailed case study of one university art museum's digital collection. That is the University of Sydney art collection, which is housed in the Chow Chak Wing Museum. So moving now to how the university art museum sector can enhance discoverability of digitised items. We have thematic structuring, and this categorisation really helps to articulate a structure within the online collection and provide users with an understanding of the scope, depth and thematic diversity of a collection. It corresponds to access points from which users can enter to discover and explore a collection. It concerns above all the UAMs that have digitised collections, either partially or comprehensively, and is particularly useful if there is no search tool available, as this can at least provide users with a panoptic, albeit selective, view of the collection content. So we have 4 distinct areas: bequests and donations. Often older universities such as the Ian Potter Museum of Art at the University of Melbourne has significant art bequests, but it's not limited to the older museums. And I have some examples there, such as the Leon and Gordon Bennett gift at Griffith University. Subject areas. So these often cross-matching where subject overlap exists. So, for example, an Aboriginal work in a bequest will also appear in if there's a subject area, Aboriginal art. So that's fairly straightforward, and we've got highlights as well. That's really sort of presented on the web pages. And then finally, art on campus. So mapping of or geolocalization of artworks. So photographing, digitising and presenting works, often sculptures that are located around campus, has the advantage of enabling users to discover and experience the interplay of art and its environment. As the as the Macquarie University Art Gallery communicates, art is displayed throughout the university, where visitors, students and staff can discover works of art set in extraordinary places. We want art to be part of our everyday working environments, where creative thinking can be inspired. And there are case studies in my research project showing a couple of examples of where mapping of artworks across the campus has been achieved. Moving right along. Oops. Right. And value adding to the collection. So here we have a quote from Martha Sears from the National Museum of Australia. UAMs can play an important role in bridging their cultural mission with learning opportunities across the university. Indeed, as cultural institutions embedded in the higher education sector, UAMs set themselves apart from other public art museums. Interestingly, 62.5% of respondents to the online survey nominated contributing to broader teaching and inquiry in the university as their top choice in a question assessing how UAMs exploit the use of their art collection in the digital environment. Object-based learning then is core to that, and Flinders University Museum of Art, FUMA, emphasises its role in taking the art collection to the core of teaching practice. Using object-based learning, OBL, as a model, the museum website offers a toolkit which includes comprehensive resources on the pedagogical framework and how to put OBL into practice, both generally and specifically with material in FUMA. In supporting and coordinating OBL, FUMA can provide physical and digital access to the collection of some 8,000 works. Then we have another a really innovative and interdisciplinary project, 100 Works, at Monash University's Museum of Art. And this project then has digitised 100 artworks accompanied by commissioned texts from art historians, curators and artists. And the contextual, sorry, just let me move that around. The contextual information from diverse writers framing modern and contemporary artworks produces a body of knowledge that enriches and extends the learning and appreciation of the works for a digital audience. And then we have the bird's eye view from Wollongong. It's a very different story. can be found at this University Art Museum, where the website offers literally a sort of bird's eye view of its collection, a work in progress with rows of thumbnail-sized images. And we can hover over and click through to an image, which will then open up an object record. And I've got an example here of part of the object record for Lloyd Rees's Illawarra Pastoral. I'll click again, we'll there see the image. And the record contains metadata embedding color codes, tags, and keywords, and enables the user to search the collection by a range of automatically generated subject tags, propelling the user toward some potentially startling correspondences. As you can see, some of these automated subject tags are really quite interesting, such as geology, grassland, and so forth. So it's a really interesting project there at Wollongong. And so the challenges encountered in digitising the permanent collections. In surveying the University Art Museum curators and managers, enabled me to get data on decisions and issues behind the scenes. And certainly staffing, as we can see in the screenshot here of one question, was seen as the sort of critical factor, and financial considerations also very important. And as I've popped in here, yeah, could these be linked? So could it be linked to the financial constraints, this sort of staffing issue, or technical competencies in the staff membership? In another question addressing further challenges, copyright infringement certainly featured strongly. For the publication and distribution of creative works, this is a major obstacle. As museum professionals are acutely aware, acquiring artworks does not result automatically in acquiring copyright. And digitisation, which involves performing the copyright owner's exclusive rights, such as reproduction, publication, and communication, could risk infringing copyright. And then finally, to wrap it up, COVID-19 reveals interesting dilemmas. It's a real double-edged sword. It motivated interest in the sector to expand an online presence, while simultaneously the sector was faced with less revenue and more redundancies. And there we can see difficulties sort of encountered in this quote here from one of the survey respondents. Yet the impacts of COVID have provided flow-on benefits for UAMs to develop and showcase content online. Results from the survey highlight this positive side of the COVID effect, where 75% of respondents see COVID-19 as creating an unforeseen benefit to digitisation projects. So to conclude, in reviewing the extent and visibility of these holdings, the research I undertook has drawn a picture of the important themes and preoccupations for university art museums, and hopes to contribute to the current debate on digitisation. While the research has found a number of UAMs are progressing or embarking on the digitisation of their art collections, there is scope to develop these activities strategically. Increasing collaboration between UAMs, for example, in terms of financial partnerships, and also information sharing around design features, best practice, etc. And also implementing digital access plans and monitoring traffic to online collections to identify user patterns, more ways to strategically address digitisation planning and the expansion of digitisation programs. There are digital access toolkits and templates available, for example, from Australian Museums and Galleries Association and also from Glampeak. So that brings my presentation to a close. I've just got that final slide with my image captions. And so thank you very much. And yeah, if there's any questions, please feel free.